The final disc confrontation of the Dream SMP was possibly one of the most climactic events of the server's lifetime, being the ending of Season 2 and all, as it uncovered the main antagonist's evil plans before he was stopped by a stray ally once and for all. Or so it seemed. You see, the Dream SMP writers are known for having a certain penchant for plot twists, with Wilbur himself being the creator of one yet-to-be-solved ARG, which is something like a puzzle hidden beneath the surface of a story, with clues leading to hints leading to uncovering secrets. Now, why am I talking about puzzles and hidden meanings in a video about the Dream SMP disc finale? Well, you'd be surprised to learn that there is evidence of Dream's plan during the finale being nothing more than a ruse. I'll release a Technoblade video I've been working on for a long time if this video hits 15,000 likes, so do that. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about all the evidence that leads us to believe that Dream staged the final disc confrontation and that everything, including Punz's betrayal, was part of a greater secret plan. Let's start off with the circumstances of which the Disc War finale actually happened. Now, Dream's actions during the story are usually always done in reaction to something, which makes sense because the guy has been shown to be about ending conflicts rather than starting them.
Problem. I'm telling you this. Every single problem is because of you. Why did you appoint?
Like
what did you appoint? What did you appoint George?
Let's go.
For no reason.
Let's go ahead and go back. You said every problem is because of me, right? Let's say Schlatt's a problem, right? Who decided to give him the votes?
That was me. That was all me.
Yeah. Did I give Schlatt the power? Did I appoint Schlatt? I didn't even vote for Schlatt. My point being, you are saying that I have caused all problems on the server. Then what is this war over? George's house that Tommy grieved. What about the disc? He gave me the disc and then stole them back. What about you? You appointed Schlatt and gave him your votes. Why don't you bring up another problem? I'll tell you how it wasn't.
However, in this particular scenario, he was the one to invite Tommy and Tubbo to fight him for the discs. He was the one who chose specifically where, when, and essentially even how the entire scene would play out. Since it was not a reaction, he was the one with a plan and with the time to prepare, even weeks prior, for this very moment. This gives us space to speculate as to when he actually started planning for this. His invitation to Tommy was sent out on January 16th, but surely it would have taken a bit longer to build the entire vault and gather up all the items for the battle. One of the conversations that could possibly give us a hint to bring us closer to the actual date is this very interesting conversation with Punz.
Nobody's gonna like me. I'm gonna have to, at some point, leave you in charge here while I go far away to avoid
Leave me in
death.
charge.
Now, him saying he'll make everyone hate him and then have to go away sounds a lot like what happened during the finale, when he was essentially hated by everyone for confronting Tommy and threatening to kill Tubbo, and sent into the prison and isolated from the rest of the server. He also says Punch needs to stage a betrayal to disconnect himself from Dream publicly before it happens, and that Dream is going away to quote-unquote avoid death. This could be applied to the finale quite easily, seeing as the prison was used as the replacement of Dream being killed for good. On this stream, which happened on December 17th, they also made a plan to fake Dream killing Punz's prized horse in front of others to justify Punz's betrayal, but they never went through with it in the end. Now, one could brush this off and say Dream was talking about Doomsday, the final death of L'Manberg here, but it is interesting to note that a lot of the things he says equally fit the fallout of the finale. Let's talk about another very interesting detail from all the way back to December the 6th, which was one day after Dream commissioned Sam to build the prison. In this stream, out of nowhere, Dream brings up the book he got from Schlatt. He doesn't reveal what's in it or what it's for, but he said that it's very valuable. Now, for some reason, he mentions this specifically in front of Sam. Not Tommy, not Punz, Sam, the guy who is building the prison for him, the warden himself, who will later be the one to suggest they put him in the prison. But if we assume he knew he was going to be defeated during the finale, it makes sense. Wouldn't he want Sam, and Sam especially, to believe that he truly has the revive book so that he wouldn't be killed? Keep in mind, this goes as far as the very day the first blocks of the prison were placed. Now, if Dream knew he was going to be defeated back then and needed a way to keep himself alive, or perhaps even to assist in his further plans, wouldn't that mean then that he commissioned the prison for himself? And let's look into this further, because surely not, right? This still seems like a pretty wild theory. But think about what Dream himself said about the person who will be put in the prison.
It's just an option because if you can't kill somebody, you might need to lock them up, you know?
But and
The problem is that
you deliver.
the people or the person that wants to the person that right now is on my mind to be put in this is highly capable, and you know it needs to be fortified. You know.
Wait a minute.
Needs to be
Highly
fortified.
capable. You're not gonna put me in there, are you?
He called them a highly skilled individual and someone powerful like me, end quote. Looking back at it all, it seems suspicious. The only person at his level at that time was Technoblade, with whom he had a shared goal of anarchy, and who he had, since the very day he came onto the server, been trying to stay on good terms with. The only other option is Dream himself. On top of that, Dream specifically describes the prison as being built for when they couldn't kill a dangerous person, but somehow could still capture them, meaning that they have them at their mercy, but for some reason, like let's say for example, a highly valuable revival book, couldn't simply get rid of them. It's important to note that at the time of commissioning the prison, no one really had anything to make them too valuable to kill, except Dream and his revival book. That's an oddly distinct condition for someone to be incarcerated, and it's even more strange that Dream would build the prison in preparation for this unlikely possibility. That is, unless he knew for certain that it was going to happen. Building the prison means investing a ton of resources, effort, and time into something which has very limited use, and doesn't make a lot of sense unless you have a very specific use in mind. Alright, but this is all very small stuff, it still seems like a stretch. Let's move on to what the actual finale and what happened throughout it tells us about this theory. Let's start with the design of Pandora's vault and how nothing about it makes sense. It's easy to break into, there are no chests to keep stuff, and even the Skeppy cage, which was an unnecessary addition in the first place seeing as he already has an entire prison built at this point in time, needs him breaking literally one block to get out of. It looks scary, it looks intimidating, but there is a certain distinction that it has from every other building Dream has ever built or been in charge of. See, Dream is a very practical, almost utilitarian person. His bases were underground, well hidden, with only so much space to move and fit chests in. None of them were fancy, even the prison, though looking very aesthetically pleasing from the outside, is built with a single goal in mind, which is to contain the prisoner. Its entire design is based around that principle, and it uses space pretty efficiently, especially compared to some of the other prisons that are circulating on YouTube nowadays. The vault has no practical use. It is logically ridiculous for any plan and only serves dramatic effect. It seems to have been built entirely for the theatrics. It is extremely unlike Dream himself, but it's not the only thing. You see, Dream acts very differently to his usual self during the finale. Something is just off. Like here.
The one good thing you've done is you brought attachment to the server. It took me a long time to realize how important attachment was, but when I did, it made me stronger, and I realized that you're important, right? I cut my attachment. I blew up my house. I lost my friends. I lost my items. Lost my crossbow. Everything that was important to me, my pets. I cut everything because I realized that that's what gave people power over each other. Like the reason right now you're here is because I have these dumb little items. If I can control the things that people are attached to, then I can control the server again. Because this isn't Tommy SMP or Tubbo SMP, it's Dream SMP, right? I have a spot for everything. I'm gonna collect everything.
Purple. No. What the fuck?
That's the one thing the bad cares about.
Dream isn't one to reveal his plans prematurely. He doesn't let people know what his goals, his means, and his ends are until it's too late for them, which is why he wins. He isn't one to gloat, and he definitely isn't one to have dramatic villain monologues while he still has something he needs. Because Dream is a strategist above all. He's smart and he uses tactical brutality, tactical bouts of extreme force to win his battles. We know this because of how he's acted in the past. The Manberg War and Doomsday are both great examples of this, and he even uses extremely specific tactics over and over in order to gain the upper hand. One of the tricks Dream uses rather often is that he lulls the enemy into a false sense of security. He makes them think that they had won before he pulls the rug from under them, and we can see this with the army retreating and pretending to be losing before the infamous final control room scene with Eret back in the very first war he fought against L'Manberg. He proceeds to use it once again on the 16th when he surrenders while fighting Pogtopia, and Dream knows he's walking into a battle where his army is severely outnumbered and that he can't win such a battle through straight up PvP no matter how good the people on his side are. That is why, in actuality, he was always planning on winning via letting Wilbur blow up the country and not by winning the war.
Well, just our agreement we had was that no matter what, he would detonate the TNT.
And now let's think back to a very specific reference that has only been used two times, during the entirety of the story so far.
I want to give you your chance to say goodbye.
Say your goodbyes. The first time he's used this was before Doomsday.
Oh, I'm liking where this is going.
So, listen, you have one night. Say your goodbyes forever. Say your goodbyes forever.
When Techno questioned him on this, he replied with, "It's an evil villain thing to do."
Why did you give them a full day? We could have been back there in like 30-minute stream with like.
Well, it's like an evil villain thing, right? Like,
seems like the same thing that happened during the finale, right? Well, the thing is, that wasn't the actual reason. He lied. In actuality, Dream was using this to catch L'Manberg off guard by showing up half an hour early to the battle so he could set up his TNT dispensers undisturbed. He was using it to catch them off guard to immediately gain the upper hand and to go on to win the battle without much trouble. Dream doesn't let people say their goodbyes, especially not during war. He never has. It doesn't make sense rationally. It's cliche. It's an quote-unquote evil villain thing to do. Wouldn't it make sense that he was once again using it as a cover-up, this time for stalling, waiting for Punz to come in with the rest of the SMP because in actuality he was never planning to kill Tubbo? Another thing, let's take for example the entirety of the disc war that led up to the finale. There was one single rule that Dream followed throughout it all. Never destroy your leverage.
Your diamonds, so yeah, if you shoot me once, I'm burning them.
but then you'd lose all your leverage. Like
but you also lose all your diamonds. And okay, I'm not gonna burn them, but that was the.
So with this rule in mind then, why would he kill Tubbo? Why would he destroy the most prized piece of leverage yet, for Tommy at least, on a whim? It didn't make sense. Once again, it seems it was only done for the theatrics, for that Deus Ex Machina moment which would sell everyone on the authenticity of the act, to make himself seem dangerous, to make himself seem like a threat. The plan he had for the vault didn't make sense at all. It never would have worked. Collecting everyone's attachments was pretty much impossible before the first people caught up to him and stopped him, and even then, he was heavily overstating the power of attachments on the server. Although he had gotten power or leverage without using them before, for example Tubbo giving them the disc, there were people who had literally none. Fundy, Puffy, Nicky, Quackity, and many others had nothing at the time that Dream could really take. So it wouldn't have worked on everyone either. Why would people he stole from listen to him, when earlier during the Punz talk, he even said that if people hated him enough, for example, for stealing from them, they'd unite against him. Dream's plans are simple, reasonable, and achievable. They're fairly straightforward as well, always specific and decisive, but this one is anything but. One could even say that thinking it would work was being delusional, and Dream in this story has proven again and again is smart. Letting people underestimate him is not only intended, it's a tactic. During the actual disc confrontation, he can be seen actively dodging questions constantly.
Why did you need us here, Dream?
Why are we here?
I mean, I have what you want, and you've come to take it, right?
Yeah, but why
You
would you
told
even
me.
let us know you're here?
It's better than being in an area where everyone else is.
Or straight up ignoring them when asked about who was supposed to go into the prison.
Prison, it wasn't meant for you originally, but now it is.
Who is it meant for originally?
You don't need to know.
He acts straightforward, but changes topics or distracts the two whenever he can. In the Dream SMP, narrative subversion, Wilbur's sudden turn to villainy, Schlatt's anticlimactic death, L'Manberg blowing up, is used as a powerful tool to catch the audience off guard. The finale uses cliches and narrative conventions to paint the most painfully obvious villain-hero climax, all engineered inch by inch by Dream himself. Looking back at it, everything just seems so deliberate, doesn't it? Let's look at some more facts then, because despite everything we showed you so far, the best is yet to come. Alright, here comes the solid evidence, a few clips that are stone solid, as you could say, and they're all important, so you should pay attention.
Okay. There's... Well, both of my pickaxes are extremely low. So this is going to be for a new project. What that project is Not gonna say yet. We're even using Silk Touch. I never use Silk Touch, but we need a lot of resources, so I have to use Silk Touch. Because we need a lot of stone for our project. It's gonna be great.
You know what we're gonna need? Do you want to be on the ground floor of it? We're gonna need stone, Tommy. Tommy. Tommy, do you want to be on the ground floor of my operation, man? I'm gonna need stone.
I don't know what I use it for, but I do want the stone.
As you just saw, 3 people on the SMP, Punz, Ranboo, and Wilbur, have been gathering enormous amounts of stone for some reason. Now, where is the connection to this theory? Who is the one thing that these 3 seemingly unrelated people have in common? That's right. All of them have worked with Dream in the past, Wilbur having been Dream's vassal and now calling him his hero, Punz being his mercenary, and Ranboo helping Dream blow up the community house, besides other things, while in his Enderwalk state. These 3 are all collecting immense amounts of stone. Is it that much of a reach to say that all 3 of them are doing it for Dream? Dream could have told Punz and Enderboo of his plans before the finale, and Wilbur was, in this theory, clued in afterwards, either by Dream in limbo or by Ranboo while enderwalking. Now, we don't know what the stone is for, and honestly, I spent a long time trying to think of like a viable use for Stew's stone and just came up completely blank, but it has been shown to be important and somehow connected to Dream, meaning that all 3 are still working for him, further proving the fact that Punz never betrayed him in the first place, and that betrayal was part of one big elaborate scheme. This all leads me to believe that Dream lied about wanting to kill Tubbo or blackmail people or even put Tommy in prison. No, he was planning to be defeated and built the prison for himself in the first place. But why? What's the point of this elaborate plot? Why would he go through all of this trouble? Dream's quite an unpredictable character, so there is no real definitive answer to this question yet. However, there are a few possibilities. One of the theories is that he was deliberately making himself hated. Having a common enemy is the easiest way to unite people after all, so if unity was his goal, why not make himself the common enemy? He'd become their villain, their scapegoat, to stop them from fighting each other as there would be a larger threat to defend against. As this wouldn't really work for long, later on he tried to manage the SMP from prison with the help of Punz, Wilbur, and Ranboo, or Enderboo, whichever you like, and the stone in this interpretation would be some sort of counteract towards Quackity's attempts at control and his attempts to disrupt the achieved peace and to disrupt Las Nevadas as a whole. It could also be that he wanted to be put in prison to be perceived as less of a threat, and then by using Ranboo, Wilbur, and Punz, his plan would be to create a web of people on their side that he could control from the shadows and therefore to use to control the SMP. A more unspecific yet safe guess is that Dream wants to do something from the inside of the prison, and that all his talk about escaping is just a red herring to throw everyone, characters and audience and all, off the set. He wanted to get locked up for a reason after all, and whatever that reason is likely to do with the reason why he planned a month-long con in order to set this situation up and has his allies gathering absurd amounts of stone. It may even have something to do with the numerous inconsistencies surrounding his deal with Schlatt and how he got the revive book. But he learned something that we as an audience don't know yet, something that would make him think such a plan as the one he's pulling would not only likely work, but even be worth it. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching this video about another lore theory from the Dream SMP next. Subscribe!